Hello and good morning from West Lafayette, Indiana. We're now in the live portion of our presentation. So we are here. I'm here with two students, Purdue students, and we are going to be here to answer any questions that you have. So feel free to type your questions in the side panel there. And my name is Dana Torrey. I'm the Assistant Director of International Undergraduate Admissions here at Purdue, and we have two students here. So
My name is Fernando Herrera. I am a junior in supply chain management. Um, pretty
where
much.
are you from?
Me, I'm from El Salvador, Central America. I think I'm one of like 10 undergrad students currently from El Salvador, so we're representing here.
Hi, so I'm Yamuna, and I'm from Chennai, India, and I'm a second year student.
Good. And one of our first questions that we have is about the airports that we come into when you come to Purdue. Which airport is the best to fly into, Indianapolis or Chicago? It really doesn't matter. It's really up to you. Both of the airports are convenient. Chicago is 2 hours from Purdue, and Indianapolis is 1 hour. So whichever one is the convenient for you in your flight. There are private bus shuttle companies that you will buy your ticket when you buy your ticket, and you'll just join the shuttle and they'll shuttle you directly to Purdue's campus. So very easy to either the Indianapolis or Chicago airport. And you'll receive more information about that from our immigration and orientation offices throughout the summer as you're buying your tickets to fly to Purdue. Any experiences there you guys want to share about coming to Purdue?
Probably the best shuttle route I would recommend because of the fashion and how they manage the entire logistics would be Reindeer Shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, they also have one of the best prices, especially coming from Indianapolis. And from my experience, they've always been on time. They have plenty of routes depending on what time of the day, so they're pretty flexible in that perspective. And again, price-wise, and they go year-round. So definitely, if I'm booking out either to Chicago or to Indianapolis, that would be the company I would buy my shuttle with.
Yep. So essentially how those shuttles work, there are a few private companies, and Reindeer is one of those. They have set schedules on their website, so you just go on there, you get a coordinate the time with whatever your flight gets in, you buy the ticket. Prices are fairly reasonable. It's about $25 one way to Indianapolis and about close to $50 one way to Chicago. And next question here. One of the questions is, do I need a visa if I have a green card? So if you're a green card holder, you are a U.S. permanent resident, so no, you do not need a visa to attend college within the United States. And where are the destinations of students who continue on their education after Purdue? That's a very wide open question. I mean, our students are going everywhere. So they're going to grad school, they're getting recruited for jobs and careers. That's going to be different for each student. So I believe about 90% of our students do have a job or in grad school after graduation. But if you guys want to talk about anything, I know some of you already have plans for graduation, after graduation, some do not because you're in your second year. But anything you want to talk about, internships, career-wise, or what you think life after Purdue looks like for yourself or some of your classmates that you've been attending Purdue with?
As Stanek mentioned, not only Purdue is limited to undergrad programs, but it also has an amazing and broad variety of graduate programs, either master's or PhD in all different kinds of areas. In my case, I am probably looking at an MBA after my undergraduate degree from Cranard. It's a good rating. It's amazing. I got some friends in it currently. They already have jobs lined up after graduation. So definitely will be one of my considerations. Also, if you want to endeavor more into the science or a PhD program, I heard that liberal arts and the College of Engineering, College of Science have a huge variety of research programs associated with PhDs in all different kinds of areas, be it chemistry, biology, computer science, computer engineering. So definitely there's more schooling, there's more research, more academic stuff related if you want to endeavor that after graduation. But also to mention, if you want to go into the workforce afterwards, Purdue does an amazing job with all the different career fairs they host for all the variety of majors they have, being engineering, being hospitality and tourism management, being business, being polytech, be it ag. Usually they have per school a different career fair that is custom tailored with the companies that they want the students to come with forth. So in my experience right now, I actually have an internship thanks to one of the career fairs this summer in Atlanta, Georgia. And I am very happy because I'm going to be not only applying my previous knowledge from experiences in the field, but also complement with the great education I received at Purdue.
And that leads right into one of the other questions. We had a question about internships. The answer's there. Do you have anything about, say, internships or what that process looks like for getting an internship in the U.S.?
So I truly love IR and Spring Expo, and IR is one of our biggest career fairs. It's called the Industrial Roundtable, and is held in early September. And the best part about that is that there's a ton of companies, a ton of opportunities, and it's a good way to network and also actually get your name out there. And I find that really helpful to getting future internships. And I've gotten tons of interviews, and that's how I have my internship for the summer in St. Louis lined up as well. So I think it's really important for like Purdue, like future students, to actually endeavor and kind of get into going to career fairs and networking opportunities, because that can really lead you places that you would have never imagined. And Purdue does a wonderful job of doing that. As Fernando said, it's incredible how many career fairs are being held every semester, and the Center for Career Opportunities and different student organizations actually do a terrific job of actually doing, like, hosting the career fairs and also ensuring that students have opportunities. And specifically to some career fairs, they also have prep nights where they have employers come in and give tips on what to do, what not to do. So it's not limited only to the career fair. It's also like there's opportunities to actually prepare yourself for it and also after it as well. So I think that's very important to keep in mind.
Great, thanks. And one of the other questions that we have, maybe those students who are looking to go into master's or PhD after graduation, how to prepare for research as an undergraduate student. So here at Purdue, we are a research-oriented school, so there are research opportunities even for undergraduate students. Do you have any experience with research or have seen the opportunities available for research for students?
So I have a set of friends, 9 set of friends, and out of that, 5 of them are involved in research, and it's incredible. They've been involved since freshman year, and it's simply a matter of reaching out to a professor and saying, hey, I would like to get involved with research. And one of my friends is actually going to be published this semester, and that's incredible for being a second year student to be published in a paper. So I think it's really interesting to see how many opportunities Purdue grants you, especially in terms of research. And as I said, it's so simple. It's as simple as just reaching out to a professor and saying, hey, can I get involved in your research? I think it's very interesting. And most often, they're very welcome to such students and the curiosity of students as well.
Good, thanks. One of our questions we have received is about scholarships and making Purdue as affordable as possible. So at Purdue, the scholarship opportunities are very limited for our international students. So once you are here on campus, you may be able to apply for scholarships through your college or your school or the department that you're studying in. But even then, the scholarship opportunities are very limited. So we are very upfront about that. And a few things about Purdue's tuition. You may have saw in the video that tuition has been froze since year 2012. And that's very unusual in the United States. So most colleges and universities will raise their tuition rates 1 to 3% each year. And that's one thing. Also, we always point out that the cost of living here in West Lafayette, Indiana is much lower than larger cities. So if you're looking at schools in a larger city, the cost of living, so if you're living off campus for your apartment and rents and even just going out and having a meal with friends at restaurants, is going to be much cheaper and more affordable than other locations within the United States. So that's something we like to point out. Of course, the scholarship opportunities are limited, and you may, if you receive outside scholarships, we'll use those to fund your schooling, but if you are unable to, our international students typically do have to pay full freight for their university experience, but it is something to think of it as a return of investment. Also, if you're comparing Purdue with other universities in the United States that maybe do offer scholarships, I always say look at the total cost, because some schools will offer you scholarships, but their tuition fees are much more than Purdue. So even after that scholarship, the tuition fees or total cost is going to be very similar to what you would be paying. And also, if you look at other schools with a similar ranking and reputation as Purdue as well, you will find that Purdue's tuition rates are relatively affordable or comparable to other schools with the same reputation as Purdue. A few ways to offset that, we can talk about jobs on campus. So as an international student, you are allowed to have a job on campus if you're on a student visa. There are some limitations, so you must work for the university, but you are able to have a job on campus. So if you have work experience on campus you want to talk about?
Yes, my freshman year, I worked in the Purdue Student Union in one of the restaurants for one semester. Then currently, right now, I am employed in the Black Cultural Center as a Spanish tutor. So there's a whole bunch of jobs you can pick up depending on what the demand for a job is. There's a lot of jobs in restaurants. If you have previous experience, that would be amazing. They're always looking for new hirees almost every semester. You can also get a job in the dining courts, which is there's quite a few of them around campus as well. You can also get a job in the co-rec, which is the magnificent facility we have for recreation and wellness here. And I know they have jobs in different sorts of sports. So if you've been like, let's say, instructor before, are you certified? Have you been a lifeguard? Have you worked in a gym before? That kind of experience can also pay off a lot. And I also know they always are hiring new people every semester. Or you can get more specific jobs as tutor for athletes, for example. That's another position also available for international students. So there is quite a variety of jobs you can take depending on what you want and depending where you're looking at campus.
Good. Those are job opportunities that you can have on your F1 student visa. And again, it's not going to cover. Basically, we'll give you some spending money and some experience as well. Pay rates for those jobs are generally $8 to $10 per hour. So again, those are a lot of opportunities. And when you accept your student offer, there is a student job board where you can go in and look at those student job opportunities, and then you go through the application process to apply for a job here on campus. The internship opportunities that we talked about are also on a student visa, so you can have a paid or unpaid internship in the United States on your student visa. There are some limitations that what you're actually doing your internship does need to be directly related to the major that you're studying, and you need to seek the approvals from the department as well as our immigration office here at Purdue. Okay, one of our questions we're going to transition here is about the healthcare requirements for international students before coming to Purdue, and we can talk a little bit about the health insurance that we require as well. So when you accept the offer and over the summertime, you will receive emails from our Purdue Health Center on campus. It's called PUSH. It stands for the Purdue University Student Health. And there will be a requirement of immunizations and health records that you'll need to get to, and health forms that you'll need to have filled out by your physician. And then you'll get them to have on record at Purdue in the Student Health Center. Also, as an international student, it is required to have health insurance in order to attend university in the U.S. And you'll receive information about that insurance throughout the summer. And there is a great webpage on our website. So if you just do a quick search online for Purdue University health insurance, there's a whole page regarding the fees for that, what it covers, and everything is right there on the website. It is an additional cost for the health insurance. It's about $1,500 per academic year. So be sure as you're making those financial decisions to incorporate that into your budget as well. Okay, I'm just looking at the questions here. One of the questions is, if I'm a Purdue undergraduate student, do I need to give the GRE or GMAT if I'm pursuing a master's at Purdue or in some other way? Honestly, it probably varies by program. That's not an area that I'm familiar with, but it does vary by program here at Purdue. So if you are planning to stay for your master's or a further degree after your bachelor's degree, you'll work with your academic advisor. And after, I would say probably in your junior year, depending on your academics and what programs are available you're interested in, you'll work with them to see if you're meeting the requirements. Some of the programs are 3+2 or 4+1, where you can start taking those master's level courses even as early as your senior year. But again, it's going to vary by program, so it may be worth checking with your academic advisor or the program directly regarding what those look like. So some of them do require the GRE, GMAT, some of them may waive it, and others may not have that requirement. So one of the questions is about about the weather here in West Lafayette. So of course we are located in the state of Indiana in the United States, and we do get to experience all four seasons with the summer, fall, winter, and spring. So we're currently approaching our spring season, and the weather is becoming very nice again. But I will ask our students to talk a little about their experience from coming from both from warmer climates and how they've adapted to the weather and how they have made that transition and what that experience has been like for them. So, want to talk about that, Fernando?
Go for it.
Probably I'm gonna say that my favorite season is gonna be fall. The reason being is that back in my country we only have like basically summer and winter, so it just transitions to one another and like climate doesn't fluctuate as much as here. But I'm gonna definitely say that fall is the most beautiful season. So definitely when you're coming into your freshman year, especially if you're a fall admit, you're gonna get to see one of the most beautiful, I think, sightseeing falls that you can find in the Midwest. The weather is very nice. It's like a nice chilly weather, I would describe it. Definitely, you can go outside for a walk. You're gonna see the trees changing colors and everything. So just like the movies portrayed it, it is like that, and it's just wonderful to walk around campus with it. Honestly, coming from a very nice tropical climate all year long, born and raised, I didn't have much trouble adapting to the cold. Just make sure you buckle up, and later on, and you're gonna be just fine. I don't see a major problem with that.
So I joke with my friends saying that this year I shedded one more layer and I stopped wearing three and now I'm wearing two. So it definitely gets better with time. At first it's a little hard, but I would say that fall is beautiful. Spring is also coming to my close second, and last year and this year I'm just seeing how everything blooms again, and there's so many, beautiful flowers on campus, and it's so pretty. And it does get cold, but definitely manageable and definitely adaptable. And I think that's what college is about. It's about adapting, and I think anyone and everyone can do it.
One of our questions that we have next is about changing your major or transferring to a different major. So if you were admitted to a major or maybe your second choice major at Purdue, we have a process to change your major. It's called CODO, C-O-D-O. It stands for Change of Degree Objective. And essentially it is possible for students to change their major from what they were originally admitted to. So you would, there's a set of requirements, so it's not guaranteed. You need to take a set of classes, meet the GPAs, work with your academic advisor in order to make that change. And also some of the changes are subject to space available in our program as well. So again, it's not guaranteed, but there's a process in place. And I believe you went through that change of major process. So you can talk a little bit how that went and if it was difficult or challenging, or even from your other students' experience, what they experienced when they do that process.
So I started out in exploratory studies, and I coded twice, and so I coded once into mechanical first year engineering, and then I coded the second time into computer engineering, and it was I wouldn't say it's difficult, but I wouldn't say it's also easy. I would say that you have to take certain classes, you have to be on top of everything, and it's certainly a lot of effort from your part, and you should be aware of the consequences that your actions might lead. So sometimes if you're not doing well in the class, I think it's up to you to kind of determine, okay, maybe I'm not doing well in this class, so how can I improve myself and be proactive about it? So definitely it's a challenge, and it's possible. That's what I'm coming to say. So, and it's also very clearly set, like, guidelines on all of them are available online. So if you just search CODO requirements for any major that you're looking into, it's set in stone, and the departments and your academic advisors would also be able to help you more in regards to the tidbits of like what should be done and what shouldn't be done, and there's a lot of guidance regarding that. So it's definitely possible.
Well, probably my Kodo first was like I was admitted into Cranard, but then I found out they also have a supply chain program in School of Engineering Technology. And for what I was looking for specifically, I find myself a little bit more suited for the engineering technology program. So even though it was like very similar major, just a whole different set on how it's going to be approached. I went through the Kodo process, since I met most of the requirements, it was not particularly hard for me. I still had to take some classes required by that department, which, as any other coding experience would be. But as of right now, I am doing what I like, and I am very happy with the program right here.
Good. So, yeah, so changing your major, both these students did it. It is possible, but you do have to meet the requirements, so it is not a guaranteed process. Right along with that, while we're talking about academics, there's a question about the VSTAR process or virtual STAR. That stands for our summer transition and advising and registration. That takes place over the summer. Essentially, it's the process for you to register for your first classes, your classes for your first semester. So it's a virtual online process. You will receive, when you accept your offer, you'll receive access to your Purdue email account. And there you'll begin, that's the official way the university is going to begin communicating with you. So make sure you're starting to check that account regularly. In early May, you'll receive an email from your, most likely your academic advisor or the department that you were admitted to regarding the VSTAR process. And you will, basically, it's a whole online process where there's a series of presentations, and just basically essentially an online academic orientation to Purdue. But a part of that is where you will register for classes. And your advisor will help you to select which of those classes you should be taking your first semester. And you'll come up with a class schedule and get officially registered for the classes. So that's the VSTAR process, and you will register for that online. And we'll start receiving information about that in May. Do you remember VSTAR, or do you have any questions about that, or have any input about that?
I remembered it, and it was pretty much straightforward. My advisor sent out a survey to me asking what you wanted to do and like what you were looking to forward at Purdue. And apart from that, she also sent like a general survey to get to know me, and then we had an email back and forth talking about what classes I would like to register for and what classes I wouldn't like to register for. And apart from that, there was like a set of websites that held a general information regarding life at Purdue and what can I expect and different safety regulations that I should be aware of. And it's pretty much a bunch of information to kind of get you geared up for BGR and BGRi.
Along with that, we had a question about research involvements on campus and what that looks like. Can you expand more on how your friends got into research and what the opportunities are there?
So research at Purdue is done particularly with undergraduate students. Professors either do it for pay or for credit. And a majority of students do it for credit, which basically means that you sign a contract with the professor saying, I'm going to devote X number of hours per week for the research that you've been doing. And essentially what that means is you're going to be helping the professor out in regards to the different tasks he might be doing in terms of like laboratory work or testing the different samples or even testing robots and kind of building algorithms. So it varies across departments, and it's not very specific to a specific department. And honestly, when you talk to a professor or you approach a professor regarding this, the professor is pretty clear about what he expects from you and what should be done by you. So all of that is firmly set, and it kind of and every semester you can choose to stay with the professor or you can choose to go and work with another professor. I know some friends of mine who have worked with different professors every semester. Some of them have stayed with the same professor for a matter of a year or a year and a half, and it really depends. And something else I forgot to point it out was the undergraduate research is really kicking off at Purdue, and this year they had an undergraduate research symposium where they brought students all across campus from different departments to present what they've been doing in their research. And it's really cool to actually attend that and see how students are impacting research at Purdue and how they're also gaining very, very hands-on experiences from research. So definitely a great opportunity to be involved in campus, especially when it's in abundance.
Yeah, absolutely. And a fun fact, there's over 400 research labs on campus. So there's also opportunities to do independent research or personal projects as well on campus as an undergraduate student. And we're going to transition now. There's a question about setting up a bank account during BGRi, so we can talk about BGRi. BGRi is the orientation specifically for international students. And we try to make it a one-stop shop. So the question we got was about setting up a bank account, and we do have the banks on campus. There's two popular ones. There's Purdue Federal Credit Union as well as Chase Bank. Both have physical locations here on our campus. And for international students, it's very easy to set up a bank account. So essentially, once you get your student ID and they need a copy of your passport, they'll be able to set up that bank account in your name and or along with your parent, and that's something that you can get taken care of very easily during the BGRi process. But while we're talking about BGRi, I'm going to have our students share a little bit about their BGRi experience and what that meant to them.
I loved BGRi and BGR, and BGRi was the perfect transition to BGR for me personally, because it didn't have the chaos, and it was a little bit calmer, and I could get myself settled in before the other domestic students came in. And essentially, after the domestic students came in, it's kind of like you're meeting so many people, and it can be very overwhelming. So BGRi was the perfect transition to that, and the best part is you get to meet other international students, and you kind of are all in the same boat because you're all so far away from home. You're kind of getting used to the place and kind of figuring everything out step by step. There's like new places that you've never heard of, fast food chains that you don't know, and different small things that all of you are on the same boat. So I think it's really essential for like students to do BGRi if you're an international student. And apart from that, your parents also have their own component to it, and I think that was pretty nice for my dad because he also got to understand more about Purdue and how academics in a U.S. university is done. And I think that really helped us as a family kind of understand how my experience in Purdue will be shaped. So honestly, hats off to BGRi for putting such a great experience for me.
Well, I'm going to have a go with that at the same time because probably when I came to Purdue, I knew 3 people
Yeah.
besides myself.
Yeah.
I knew who my roommate was going to be, and we probably had not gone besides a Skype call
Yeah.
because he was a domestic student. And 2 more kids that were coming from the same high school I did to Purdue as well, to completely different majors. So, yes, I was scared originally because I did not know anybody.
Right.
But since we're all especially for BGR, we're all international students. We're all in the same boat. So it was just mind opening how many people from all these different places, from some even countries you never heard about, you're gonna meet, and you never know where meeting for an orientation can lead to. Like until this day, I am really good friends with some of the friends I made at BGRi, and I'm a junior at this point. So it's the perfect chance to make long-lasting friendships.
Along with that, there's plenty of ways to be involved with organizations and things like that outside of the classroom. So can you guys give some examples of the organizations or clubs or intramural sports or all those opportunities that are available and what you're involved with personally?
So personally, I'm involved in Purdue Think, which by far is my favorite organization. And what we do is we basically it's a professional organization, and we do consulting for Purdue organizations. So we help different either student organizations or even like administrative organizations kind of figure out if they have like strategic problems such as marketing or organization of the organization or like structure of the organization. And essentially we try to solve those problems and come up with data analysis, and it's super fun because we're giving back to Purdue in a really unique way, and I gain experience that I wouldn't have in a classroom, like giving presentations, and also just doing market analysis and data analysis. And apart from that, I'm also involved in PFSB, which is Purdue Foundation Student Board, which works alongside with the University Development Office. And so essentially we talk about giving back to Purdue in philanthropic ways and how we can all grow together as a community by giving back to Purdue. And I think that's really incredible.
So besides international investors, I'm involved with OSCO, which is the Operations and Supply Chain Organization on campus. So when I was looking to get involved with an organization, I was looking for something related to my major, so I could have more opportunities for networking, meeting new people in my major or in very similar majors. And right now, I'm the former treasurer of the organization and currently the international chairman of outreach. So my function as an executive board member is to recruit especially international students into my organization. And then again, it's not limited to a supply chain degree. We have people from industrial management, we have people from industrial engineering, and we also have a lot of people from industrial engineering technology and supply chain management technology as well. So it's we're all within the same spectrum of the major, but we try to get as much people from all different kinds of backgrounds because we have gotten in previous years different kinds of feedback on the companies that we host, on the people we have come and talk about supply chain related topics, and as well as the opportunities such as the Caterpillar tour we organized last week.
And along with that, during BGRi, the students will be moving into the residence hall. So can you talk a little bit about your experience living on campus, eating on campus, that whole residential experience?
Definitely 100% would recommend the residence halls, especially because my closest friends are from the residence halls and they still are my best friends at Purdue right now. And so I had an amazing experience with residence life, and I was in the honors college residence halls, and I was part of this amazing floor that kind of brought together. And I think it's incredible how many friends and connections you make when you're in resident when you're oh my god, I can't talk today, when you're in the residence halls. So apart from that, I also went random with my roommates, and it turned out to be great. And also, apart from going random with roommates, you have a very good support system in terms of RAs. So they are essentially people who live on the same floor as you, and who are either second year, third year, or fourth year students who kind of help you navigate through the first 4 weeks or 6 weeks, and they're living with you throughout the entire year. So they kind of help you if you have any problems with regards to your living situation, or in terms of if you're not being adjusted well. So I think residence halls is a really good transition from coming from such a faraway place, because it helps you navigate through everything that you're going through, and also it kind of establishes a good friend circle for you. And I think that's very important, especially when you don't know many people coming in.
Well, I lived 2 years in the same dorm, and especially as a freshman coming in, I was a little bit nervous about having a roommate, somebody I barely knew at all, and everything. And I am surprised at how well we managed to get to know each other and live together for an entire year. So definitely, it's about the mindset you have of keeping an open minded and getting to know somebody else. And even until this day, we're still remain really good friends. So I definitely recommend the dorms, especially if you don't know any other friends coming over, because I met a couple of my good friends that were still friends until this year and everything since freshman year. So it's not only you'll get to know more people, also the food. It's another thing. So you will get access to the dining halls, and there's a diversity of dining halls, so not just one. And you can go eat whenever, which dining hall you want to go, and you can look up in the menus in the Purdue application and everything to see what meals will be served, what do you like more. And it was really good, especially that way you can eat with friends and everything at the dining halls
Yeah.
in comparison to living in an apartment and everything. So definitely it's a very great social experience, I would say.
In terms of dining halls, I forgot to say something. I'm allergic to certain food types, and I'm also I have dietary restrictions in terms of I'm a vegetarian. And the dining halls does a really good job of actually integrating you into or supporting a large variety of students. So there's a lot of make your own stations where you can make your own pasta, you can make your own eggs, you can make your own sandwich, and honestly, the variety is incredible. So definitely dining halls 100% would recommend.
And along with that, one of the questions we received is about the meal plans that we offer at Purdue. When you fill out your housing contract to live on campus, you will need to select a meal plan. And those go from, I believe, 8 meals per week up to unlimited meals. So depending on what your schedule is like, you'll select that. We typically recommend the 13-meal plan, and you can always increase that if you find that it's not enough. But if you do start out the unlimited, the dining plan, they do not let you decrease. But you can change and evaluate each semester which meal plan is going to be the best fit for you. And you can, if you do a search online, you can see what those meal plans entail and figure that out and which is going to be the best fit for you. And let's go back to talking a little bit about, we have some academic questions as well. So one of the questions is about class size and what classes are like. So our average class size at Purdue is 30 students, but with that said, there are a lot of classes that many students have to take their first year. So you may have large lecture style classrooms as well. So I'll let the students talk a little bit about what their experience was as far as class sizes and what that's like. Another question along with that we have is about, they say if they've heard that it's very hard to get good grades at Purdue compared to other universities and if that's recognized. So we'll let them share about that as their experience as well.
So, in terms of classes, I'll give 2 examples. So, in my first semester, I had an English class and I had a math class. My English class was a size of 20 people, and it was quite small. We all knew the instructor really well. In my class, a math class, which is Calc 1, it was a lecture of around 200 to 300 people. But the good thing about these big lectures is that they comprise it or they try to compress it into smaller sections by holding recitations. So I had 3 big lectures that was with the entire group for Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and on Thursdays I would have a 30 class size, and I would go to the class and sit with a graduate assistant who would revise what we covered that week, and we would also talk about homeworks and difficult problems, and then we would go and we would do a quiz. So essentially, what Purdue tries to do is, if you have a big lecture, they try to ensure that you feel like there's a smaller size class that you get to go to, and you also have a better support system in that sense. So when I went to a smaller size class, I not only had a support system of the peers that were there, but also the graduate TA who I could ask questions to. And apart from that, the professors are always welcoming to students to asking questions. And in terms of difficulty, yes, classes are difficult, and that's a given for any college. But I think what Purdue does a great job of is giving resources to combat that hardness. The Academic Success Center does an amazing job of this, and some examples are SI sessions. And so SI sessions are essentially supplemental instructions, and they are held by a student who has succeeded in that class, who's gotten an A or better in that class. And essentially what they do is they kind of solve problems in a creative way and help you collaborate with other students. So in a sense, you get to understand who's there in the class, and also you kind of solve problems every week. And because this is held every 3 times a week or even 2 times a week, you can continuously practice and get better in a particular class. So there are so many resources, and some of the resources, I'll just list them out and not explain them, is TA office hours, professor office hours, help rooms, and honestly, students next to you. And it's incredible the amount of resources. Everyone's willing to collaborate. So I think that's something important to be kept in your mind, is that yes, it's hard, but yes, you can do it, especially with the given resources.
Well, in my experience, I'm gonna go with the same. Especially, I took this communication class back in my freshman year, and it was as well as your English class, very small lecture, maybe 15, 20 student stops. But then I had also a calculus 1 class, which was a big lecture, like over 200 students. So you're gonna experience both, especially if you go into engineering, science, or Krenner School of Management specifically, which they host the majority of students are on campus, as well as liberal arts. When it comes to defining hard, I think that's a very subjective word, because you will get the results at Purdue for the amount of work you put in. So regardless of the major, yes, you might say some majors are harder than others, but it's depending on how passionate you're about a major, how much input you want to put into it, and you will see the results. And I think I saw a question there, in comparison to other universities and businesses recognize, yes, they do. Why? Because they know you're in one of the top universities in the United States, especially regarding science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And companies, even not from the Midwest, come seek students from Purdue because they know you know what you're learning, and they want that input into their companies.
And we just had another question come up related to this about how much time you need to study outside of the classroom. So you can talk about how much time outside the classroom you need to put into your.
So I think it depends on every class and how comfortable you are with the subject. A harder class, sometimes I know that I spend around 6 hours to 7 hours every week, and for a class. And 1 credit hour, how I would define, and it's defined in the university webpage somewhere, and I would define it as 3-hour work So in the sense, if you have a 1 credit that's a lab, it's 3 hours of work in the lab and it's 3 hours of work for the lab outside. And in terms of 1 credit for an academic class, I would say it's like 3 hours of lecture, and for every credit, it's also 3 hours of work outside. So it might seem overwhelming, but depending on how comfortable you are in the subject, sometimes it can get easier, but sometimes you have to also put more effort. And I think it really balances it out in the end of the day. So definitely doable, and definitely would say that, as Fernando said, it's it's recognized everywhere, and it also you can do it. Anyone can do it if you put in the effort to it, and Purdue recognizes when you put effort into something.
One of the questions we received is if we would recommend a PC or Mac for your computer. Really, that's a personal thing and which is going to be the best fit for you. Purdue has computer labs with both, so if you need access to certain software or whatnot, we do have the software that you need on campus, and you will be able to access that as a student, and really making that decision is kind of a personal thing, whichever you would prefer. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
So definitely, in my case, I'm a PC user. I always been my entire life. Just because all programs I work with within, like, for example, for some classes I got into SAP, so it was a different functioning system for Mac, different for PC. But regardless of which is your preference choice, Purdue has them both. And not only will we have them both, but we have them in a diversity of places. You got Parish Library and Prentice School of Management. You got Walk in the middle by the Engineering Fountain with both PC and Macs available in multiple floors. You got Hicks Undergraduate Library as well, and which also is equipped with both Mac and PCs. So depending where you want to study, where you're going to gather to do work, and also we have another computer lab in Stewart Center for working with both PCs and Macs. So definitely there's a diversity, there is both, and there's a lot of them. So don't feel hand-shorted that you're not going to go into getting a PC or a Mac if you have a homework or an assignment that is due on a specific program. So definitely it's a personal choice, as Danik said, but we have them both, and it's pretty flexible around campus.
Looks like we have some questions going back to the residential hall side and housing. One of the questions we received is about roommates. If you're a first-year student, is it possible to be paired with a sophomore student? I would say that's very unlikely. It may be possible, but it would be unlikely. Most of our students who are coming are going to be paired with a first-year student. Am I correct?
Yeah, both the students I was paired with was first-year
Right.
students.
We had another question regarding learning communities. So what a learning community is it's basically a way for you to live with students who have a similar major or interest as you. So for example, there is some engineering or maybe even women in engineering learning communities where if you're an engineering major, you can apply to be a part of that major or that learning community. Or some of them are just areas of interest. So for example, there's a data mine community, and if you don't have to be a computer science major or even a computer related major, but if you have an interest in that area, you can apply to be a part of that community. So I believe there's over 70 different types of learning communities on campus where you can do a search online on a housing page and get a sense of what those learning communities are, and if it's something that you are interested in, by all means, go ahead and apply to that learning community. We had a question specifically about the Honors College as well. If you are a part of the Honors College, there is the housing opportunity there with that offer. I think that's a part of the offer where you would be encouraged to live in the Honors housing if you are part of the Honors College, because that is part of the experience of being a part of the Honors College, is living in the Honors College housing. And looking at the questions here. We have another academic question about double majors and if it can be done in 4 years. So at Purdue, we do allow you to have a double major or a major and a minor, so it's very flexible in what you want to do. If you are adding on majors or minors, yes, it may be possible for you to take longer than 4 years or even be completed in 4 years. So I always say it kind of depends on how closely related that major is. So for example, if you're doing engineering and a management degree, those are two very different plans of study. So yes, it's possible and students do it, but it will most likely take you longer than 4 years to complete that entire plan of study. There may be situations where the degrees are very similar and it may be instance of taking a few extra classes and you have a double major or a minor. So do you guys have experiences with that?
I personally just have one major, but I do know of a friend that picked a very particular combination. So he was a construction engineering management student as well as a political science major.
That is the
So definitely two different colleges, two different courses. He had to put in more than the regular amount of work per semester, and he managed successfully to graduate in 4 years and a summer with both degrees from different colleges. So definitely is a lot more work, especially if it's from two different colleges. Is it doable? Maybe in a little bit more than 4 years, but yes, there is cases where this has been doable.
So I have a lot of friends of mine who are in the College of Science and College of even Agriculture, and they sometimes map. So one of my friends, she's doing neurosciences and she's doing biochemistry together. And the reason why she's able to do it so fluidly is because of the fact that it's in the same college, and because of the same college, the same college requirements are the same. So it's easy to match that up better. But I do know friends of mine who are also doing various degrees from different colleges, like from aeronautical engineering and also from political science. But I do know that he's putting a lot more effort, like Fernando said. So definitely doable, and I think you should talk to your academic advisor about it early if you're looking forward to doing something like that, and be more realistic about it so that you know what to expect.
Our next set of questions is about getting around campus. So there's a variety of ways to getting around campus. I typically say if you live on campus, you're most likely going to be within a 5 to 10 minute walk from your classes. But we are a large university, so it can be a little bit spread out. There is a bus system that's free for all students with their student ID to get around campus and even into the local community with that bus system. Students may get bikes on campus. That was their question specifically about a bike. We are a very bike-friendly campus, so many students do buy a bike, and there's also bike share programs as well, and how the students get to classes. So I'll have our students talk about how they get around campus and navigate everything with the variety of options that they have.
I've been mostly walking everywhere, and it's very convenient for me because the residential hall I'm living in right now is quite close to campus, the academic side of campus. But sometimes it gets a little bit tiring, and I take the Silver Loop, which is really convenient because it comes every 5 minutes to every stop, which means that that frequency almost essentially ensures that you get to your class on time. So definitely the bus system is a great place, and also just walking around is quite easy and quite healthy for you. So I would do it, yeah.
So this will come as a surprise, but in my case, I'm a skater. I don't look like one, but yes, I do skate, especially when you're living on the dorms are a little bit further from the lecture halls. It is very useful to have a skateboard, not only because I personally not a big biker, but a skateboard is more flexible, more, I think, versatile in the way that you can take it into the lecture hall, just keep it with you and everything. And at the same time, I was able to move from one end to campus to another end, let's say completely like within 10 minutes range. So it comes down to what you like better. But yes, as Stanek said, we're very skateboard and a bike-friendly campus as well.
And even with the winters, I think that's a question or concern specifically about during the winter. Yes, there may be days where you can't skateboard or even bike, but we do have those options if the weather permits.
Yes.
That's good, right? Question about academics, about contacting the academic advisor during registration. Because it's all virtual, yes, you are able to contact your academic advisor. Most likely they are going to be the one, or someone within the department is going to be the one reaching out to you and introducing themselves to you over email typically. So it is okay to contact them, and that's part of their job is to make sure that you're going to be getting the assistance and the support you need to get into the classes and go through that entire registration process. All right.
So some advisors like to Skype. My advisor said email is convenient for me. So I think we exchanged like around 30 to 40 emails, which is a lot. But I think it really helped me kind of understand what my options were and what I really wanted to do. So it was really helpful. And they're honestly there for you. That's their job, and it's a good support system to have. So even now, like my academic advisors are really close to me. So yep.
Yeah, so it's gonna really vary, I think, between the departments, because the advisors are specific to a set of majors or to that academic department. So their style and the way they communicate and reach out with students is gonna vary, but majority is gonna be, yeah, through email, and it is okay to contact them. And talking a little bit about that learning community experience, do you guys have any experience with learning communities? Were you part of one? If not, do you know of people who were and what that experience or all entails?
So I was part of the Exploratory Studies Learning Community, and what was really great about it was the fact that it also introduced me to a great set of new people, and I also shared classes with them, which meant that I had people that I could contact if I needed any help, and they were also living right next to me, which made it very convenient for that to happen. Apart from that, we did lots of activities outside. Some of the activities we did, we went to some of the games, like a volleyball game, a basketball game. We went to a movie. We went for dinner outside nearby in Lafayette. So basically different activities just to kind of get to know more people and to kind of ensure that you are building a support system in campus and you're not all alone. So I definitely would highly recommend it, and it was a great experience for me, and some of them I still am in touch with and I'm still close friends with.
And we have a question for the students here. Why did you choose Purdue? And what's your favorite part about it?
My favorite part about Purdue is collaboration, and I think that's why I chose Purdue, because when I started researching about the university, and bear in mind, I did not come to the university, I did not I had email conversations with people, but I did not know of anyone here, and for me it was mostly looking into social media and kind of exploring the culture, and something that struck out to me the most was the fact that we are very collaborative and we're very helpful, and everyone kind of builds upon each other, and that was very important for me because I'm a group learner and I learn from other people, and I love to give help and I love to receive help, and that struck me the most out of Purdue, and that's why I chose Purdue. And still now that remains to be my favorite part. If I'm struggling in a course or any lab, I know that the people around me are willing and always able to help me, and I can always ask for their help, and I think that's the biggest thing I love about Purdue.
In my case, well, I'm a second generation Purdue student, so boiler up. And so when I was looking, I knew what I wanted to study specifically, and I was looking for the top 10 U.S. universities that had this major. So besides the fact that I was a legacy, when Purdue popped up, I was like, not only the opportunities and the challenge they would represent academically, but I think like a way of self-improving your learning and further. So definitely, not only because I'm a legacy, but also because Purdue was what I was looking for, a great studying environment specifically, where you can be focused and engaged in different activities inside and outside the classroom relating to your major, but also because I knew the opportunities from my other Purdue legacy were great, as he did when he attended Purdue. So it didn't really came down to anything else, but it was like Purdue was too good to go. So.
Along with that, our next question is, what is there to do at Purdue when you're looking at events and things outside the classroom? Are there events like Diwali or Cinco de Mayo on campus?
In terms of Indian festivals, yes, Diwali and Holi is the most celebrated here in terms of all the undergraduate Indian organizations, and they do a really good job about it. So definitely, you won't miss any of the home stuff, and it's always present. I know it kind of you get like a sad tinge that you're not at home when these festivals are happening, but at the same time. They do a really good job of celebrating these festivals, and I've always enjoyed being here for those festivals as well. So, and apart from that, there's so many cultural organizations on campus, and there's so many cultural centers, and I think it gives you a great opportunity not only to learn more about your culture, but also learn more about others. And I think that's very important when you're in a university so far away from home, that everyone kind of brings out the best of their culture and kind of shares and is willing to talk to you about almost anything. So definitely would recommend joining cultural organizations and just being part of different festivals around campus.
So regardless of the background you come from, definitely there is at least one cultural center per ethnicity. So there's a Black cultural center, there's an Asian cultural center, there's a Latino cultural center, And I think those would be the best places if you're looking to celebrate a festival or anything that you have like or miss from back home when you're studying here at Purdue, because they're great at doing all different kinds of events throughout the year. Of course, pertaining to our own cultures and everything. So do not feel you might be like homesick or anything because you're leaving all of this behind. There is those opportunities at Purdue, definitely.
Next question that we have here is about internships or jobs after graduation and what that process is like for international students. So the question is it possible or what are the chances of international students being successful at doing this? And Fernando, you had that experience,
Yes.
right? So if you talk a little bit about that.
So just to be a little bit more specific, there's OPT and CPT. CPT is the process when you're still an undergrad student and you're planning to do a co-op or a summer internship. OPT is the process that you go through when you are a senior and about to graduate for a full-time position. So in my case, as any other work requirements, I did two processes. The first with Immigration and Homeland Security and through Purdue ISS to get all the paperwork I needed for my work permit. And then there's also the paperwork you have to do with the company, just like any other application. So it's of course paperwork besides paperwork and paperwork. But yes, it is doable, especially for STEM majors, because the companies here are usually that hire are multinational companies, as well as companies looking to expand in diversity. So they not only want the diversity of having different cultural backgrounds in their companies, but also they understand that by hiring a international student, they not only getting that academic
Yeah.
excellence which Purdue always fosters, but you're getting that plus, that cultural plus of adding something else to the company. So yes, there is opportunities for international students.
I think we had a question too about do companies look at GPA when they're when they're applying for those jobs? That's really going to vary by the company. I'm assuming but yeah, GPA is an important part of your resume, and of course, the better your GPA, the better your application may be for those positions. Would you agree?
Yes, I was asked indeed about my GPA when I was applying to the position I'll be entering over the summer. And then again, I do understand that Purdue has a reputation for being especially hard on grades and everything. And some companies do have, depending on the company, again, a certain GPA requirement. But do not limit yourself to the GPA because you can always get that extra mile, that extra something. But again, your GPA will be on how much work you put into your academics.
We have a question about security and safety on campus. So if you could I'll have the students talk a little about their experience on campus when it comes to safety and security.
Personally, I've never felt like unsafe on campus, especially sometimes I stay on labs for late nights. Like I sometimes head only home at 12 o'clock at night, and honestly, I've not felt unsafe at any point of time. Purdue does a really good job about ensuring that the safety of students is there, and there's different blue light boxes all across campus. And the good thing about that is you just have to press a certain button on the box, and immediately the police and the firefighters would respond at that area and that specific box. So it's very helpful, and the best part about those boxes is that from any box you can see the next blue light, so that means that they're quite close to each other. And apart from that, Purdue also has something called Safe Walk. So behind your ID card, you have a number that you can call, and a police officer or a student worker at the police department will kind of escort you wherever you need to be, especially if it's late at night. And this kind of helps you ensure that you have this sense of safety that you need, and also that you can, do your work and not care about like, oh, it's gonna get late, I have to go home. So it works as a dual fold.
So in addition, especially as a freshman, I understand the security concerns about moving somewhere else. But if you're living in the residence halls, Purdue Police is always on rounds 24/7, so you'll see them pretty often, which gives you a sense of security that you're protected by law enforcement. So definitely And we're also, I think, rated the 12th safest public university in the
Yeah.
United States. So, in comparison to other universities, and considering the fact that we're a large university, I personally had never had an issue with security.
And I had a question about shipping things to campus. So once you are assigned your residence hall, you will get a US address and you can, I believe, ship things to that address. So if you didn't want to ship things ahead or start maybe ordering some things online, you can do that and it'll be here for you when you arrive. But you will not be able to do that until you have that US address. Have you guys done that? Or?
I didn't ship anything originally when I was moving, just because I got my assignment a little bit late. But definitely, I think it would be possible, but I don't know where people would store it. I just came over,
Yeah.
bought things as I saw a need be and
Yeah.
like fitting into my room.
Yeah.
I started getting more
Exactly.
things. So just to be safe, especially staying in the dorms, I wouldn't ship a whole bunch of stuff
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
you are, I mean, you and your roommate are the only ones that have the key to the door
Right.
in the room. So, and I don't think they have any storing areas temporarily while you arrive on campus. So, just to be safe, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And also during the BGRi program, they do a great job of there are free shuttles to Walmart and the other large
Mhm.
superstores where you will be able to go and get a lot of those things that you're unable to bring from overseas. So, basic things, think of, even bed sheets and pillows and toiletries and snacks and all of those little things that you're going to want in your residence hall that doesn't make sense for you to bring from overseas. It's very easy with the bus system as well as the free shuttles they provide during the BGRi program. We have a question, we're going back to dining. It says, do we need different cards for dining dollars and Boiler Express or debit? How do those swipes work? And how, can you guys explain a little bit how those dollars work?
Do you want to take it?
Yeah. So,
Okay. Yes.
depending on the meal plan you choose, you'll get an amount of dining dollars, which you can use anywhere on campus, be it a Starbucks, be it a Third Street Market, be it the restaurants at the Purdue Student Union. And then Boiler Express is another way of paying it. That you have to charge from a debit card or a credit card into your Purdue Student ID account, which will be used if you do live in the residence halls for the laundry room.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I'm not mistaken, for the 13 meal plan, which is the one I had when I was in the dorms, I had 250
Yeah.
dining dollars per semester. So definitely, when you're on the run or you have exams or you cannot make it on time to the dining court hours, those dining dollars come very handy to grab a quick snack or a meal somewhere else around campus. The swipes, again, I think we talked about. There's different kinds of plans. For me, living 2 years in the dorms, I think the best plan was the 13 meal plan. Unless you want to have more meals, definitely go with the unlimited, but the 13 should do the trick for a regular week.
And one thing that Fernando forgot to add is that everything is in one card. So
Yeah.
your Purdue ID. So that's like your godsend for dorms.
The master
when you're
key.
Yes, it unlocks your dorms at night. It helps you swipe in for dining court, and it's where you get dining dollars and Boiler Express. And honestly, when you're going to when you're going to a store or a restaurant, they ask you dining dollars or Boiler Express, and at that point, you just tell what you want, and they'll swipe it away from you. So everything is in your Purdue ID, and I think that's important to remember.
I had a question about internships and how early you can start applying for them. Typically, your first year, if you're coming in as a freshman student or beginner student, it's good to be thinking about internships, but most students will not start, usually sophomore years when it's more common for students to have an internship or start thinking about applying for internships. So most students, I would say their first year, it's less common to start applying, but know that those opportunities are available and it may be possible. But typically, usually in your second year is when you're going to start thinking about those internship opportunities. And a question about how popular are sororities or fraternities or Greek life on Purdue's campus. So that is an opportunity that we do offer. I believe it's roughly 20% of our students are involved with a sorority or fraternity or the Greek life here at Purdue. So it is available if it's something you want to be involved with and have part of your college experience. But you guys want to talk about what you've seen, if you're a part of one or if you're not, and what you've seen with the sororities and fraternities on campus.
I think it's an experience for different people. Like if you want it, that's great. If you don't want it, it's great as well. Like it doesn't influence, the friendships you have or the friendships you are gonna, have. I don't think it breaks or makes you at Purdue. Honestly, at Purdue, it's like you want to be involved in something, you have the opportunity to do it. If you don't want to, you don't need to. With that said, I think the Greek life does an excellent job of actually promoting philanthropy on campus, and I know every sorority or fraternity chapter that has to have at least one philanthropic, event per semester, and it's a society, it's a gathering for a good cause. So I think definitely it calls out for different people, and I'm not involved in it, but if you are, I would highly recommend it and exploring it. And I think in BGRi you have the opportunity to do so when there's like a Greek life fair where all the sororities and fraternities put up their own stands and talk about their chapter, talk about what they do and what they're involved in. So honestly, when you come from BGRi, you kind of understand what opportunities you have on campus, and at that point you can make a call if you want to be involved or not. So definitely it's up to you in the end of the day.
In my case, I'm not in a fraternity as well, but what I know from my friends that are in a fraternity is that they do a lot of volunteering work outside. They also have mandatory study hours and tables, so they
Yeah.
do seek academic excellence, and you are required for some fraternities to have a minimum GPA.
Yeah.
And otherwise, if not, you're put on probation. So definitely is about the kind of social circle you want to get involved with. If it's Greek life you want to be involved with, is that your thing? Is that when you get into college? Sure, it's a great opportunity. I have friends that enjoy that circle and everything, but it's definitely what you're looking for, and especially it's you're willing to do volunteering service because they do have mandatory volunteer hours to comply with semester, as well as if you like to be involved in the diversity of events they host for different kinds of purposes, be it academic or being social.
Back to the meals we just talked about. We're going back and forth with topics here. The question is, can you use a guest meal or for other students, if not necessarily your guests when you're going on your meal plan? Is that possible?
So yes, for the unlimited plan that is to 250 or 500, you do have guest swipes that you can use for other people. But for the unlimited that is 13 meal swipes, you don't have guest swipes, but you can use dining dollars to get guests into the dining courts if that's what you would like. And apart from that, all the dorms that I've been in have a facility as a kitchen, but it's not the case that they have multiple kitchens. It's almost 2 kitchens for 750 people. So yes, you can indulge yourself to the occasional meal, but I don't see that being convenient for you as an individual to cook every meal. Definitely it's a preference if you would like to do so, but just remember that sometimes the convenience is not there when you're living in the dorm.
We have a question about as you advance in your courses, the student feels like maybe they will have less time or be more involved with their area of study. They say, is that generally true as you progress in your major or your area of study, having less time to commit to other things outside of the classroom?
I believe that it really, I think what college is essentially is like a time management tutorial to help you kind of understand how to manage your time better. And every year you get better and better and you start improving. And when you come to your final year, you actually really do well in kind of understanding what your priorities are, what you should prioritize first. And at that point, you also have your defined goals, like this is the organization I want to give my all to. And yes, the classes do get harder, you're learning more, but essentially what you also do is you learn how to cope up and how to seek resources better. So I think it definitely is a learning curve, and in the end of the day, in the 4th year, it gets easier, but it not necessarily is easier in terms of classes. You learn to manage it better.
I think it comes down to time management, definitely, because definitely some classes will get more challenging. You'll go way into depth into more things about your major specifically. In my case, I got my senior design coming up next year, which is a 2 semester class and everything, which can vary a lot in the time it will consume. So it's, as we said, it's not about you're gonna have less time to get involved with other stuff. It's like how you're gonna manage that time so you can get everything done.
What resources have been the most helpful to you, especially as an international student?
For me, it's been help rooms and SI sessions for academic purposes, and for just generally like adapting. It's just been meeting new people in terms of different organizations and just like exploring different events on campus. So in terms of help rooms, I've just for academics, I just go to any help room, like a math help room, and I just ask a TA, a graduate TA usually, questions about a certain problem. It kind of helps me understand where I'm hitting wrong. And SI sessions, as I spoke before, is a really great way to kind of get more practice every week. And in terms of organizations, there's so many organizations on campus that do various events, and every week and every weekend, there's almost some event or the other that's happening. And I remember my first semester and second semester, I would essentially go to Boiler Link, where all the events for all the different organizations are put, and I would try to like search how do I fill this time. And so I did like random stuff, like I went for a comedy show one weekend, I went to a play, and then I did a soldering event all out of nowhere. So it definitely, I think, getting involved in different organizations and events is definitely how it really helped me adapt to the culture of the university and also the culture in Purdue, in the U.S.
The one I found especially useful, especially freshman year when I was struggling with a couple of classes, was office hours. So they have several TAs depending, especially for those general classes you have to take, and they will give you a schedule usually on Blackboard or in the syllabus where you can look up which TA will host office hours and in what building. So if you have any questions regarding a homework assignment, question about a concept in class you haven't grasped completely, or about an upcoming exam, TAs are there to help you. So definitely, you're not out left off or hanging, but there's this resources to help you answer all the questions that you have about a certain topic about a certain class. Definitely.
Well, we're getting to our end of the time here that we have for this session, so I'm just going to ask one more question to our students here. And just thinking about the audience of the students who are admitted to Purdue and trying to make that decision, what advice or suggestions do you have for them as they're thinking about attending a college in the US or even Purdue as they're going through this process? What advice do you have for them, or from your personal experience, anything last minute things you want to share?
Fernandez, you want to take this? I feel like you do a great job.
So what I would tell any incoming freshman is that you're about to embark in a learning crusade.
Yeah.
You're about to discover an amount of knowledge you probably would have not even imagined in high school.
Yeah.
And that's regardless of your field. Yes, I know that Purdue is usually known for STEM and everything, but not limit yourself to that. You have the opportunity, you have the resources to endeavor yourself in more than just one thing specifically. So it's definitely, as they call it, the cultural melting pot where you'll get a little bit about everything.
Yeah.
So do not see it only as a great academic investment, but also the one opportunity for your undergraduate degree to get the most out of the cultural diversity that exists around the world.
Definitely, that was a great speech. I can't beat that. But what I would say is, you're in for learning. You're in for learning, and you're in for proactive learning. And I think that's what any U.S. undergraduate education will help you do: is be proactive learner and also help you kind of polish all your skills, soft skills and hard skills. And when you're choosing a university, you should remember that you're not choosing a university for what it's ranked or something, but you're choosing where you will fit as a person. And I think that's very important to remember, because you're going to be living in that university for maybe 4 to 5 years, and you're going to be experiencing and what kind of group of people would you like to be surrounded with? What kind of experiences would you like to get from that university? And lastly, you were chosen for Purdue because we believe that you will fit here and you will thrive here. And I think that's something you should remember coming out of all of this.
Great. Well, thank you, Yamuna. and Fernando for helping us today answer these questions. If there were any other questions that we did not get to, or you were too afraid to ask, or more particular to you and your situation, our email is on the screen there, so feel free to send us an email if any other questions come up after today. Thank you for joining us for this live session. It's been great. And again, any other questions that come up, congratulations on your admission to Purdue. And hopefully this was very helpful in helping you figure out learning more about Purdue and figuring out if it's going to be the best fit for you and your education. Bye.